Chapter 1. Anya. Baltimore never stayed quiet for long. Even inside the library, the city press and muffled sirens cutting through the air, a car. Horn blaring on Fayette Street, bass rattling faintly from a passing car. The Enoch Pratt free. Library still like a tired guardian in the middle of it all, holding on to an older kind of order. But its walls were too thin to block out the noise of a city that hadn't rested in decades. Anya adjusted her glasses and leaned closer to the brittle city planning map stretched. Across the reference desk, the paper smelled of dust and mildew, its corners yellowed. From years of neglect, she traced her finger over a blueprint of Harbor East, the sharp lines of streets and piers drawn as though the planners had believed the future could be ordered with ink. They hadn't imagined flooding or riots or the slow bleed of jobs out of the city. Her half-drained thermos of coffee sat by her elbow. It had gone lukewarm hours ago, but she drank it anyway, swallowing bitterness that kept her eyes open. Nights at the library had become her refuge. If the world outside wanted to tear itself apart, here she could bury herself in ink and paper into knowledge that didn't scream. The fluorescent lights overhead hummed softly, their flicker exposing the age of the wiring. Dust floated lazily in the beams from tall windows, and the faint smell of toner lingered in the air. A janitor's cart squeaked somewhere 2 floors down, wheels uneven against the marble. It was the closest thing to peace she knew anymore. But even peace had cracks. Anya pushed her chair back and rubbed her eyes. Her notebook lay open on the desk. Beside her, filled with neat rows of handwriting, cross-references, dates, and scrawled theories only she would ever care to read. She told herself it was research for a dissertation that might never be finished. But the truth was simpler. She was hiding from the city outside, hiding from the way every headline seemed to shout about. Another closure, another shooting, another storm warning. The library didn't fix anything, but it felt like somewhere untouched. A laugh drifted faintly from the children's wing on the ground floor. Not a baby's cry, or the chaotic shrieking of toddlers, just the clear, high giggle of a child who had found something worth smiling at. The sound curled around the stacks and softened Anya's shoulders. At least the building still served someone, she thought. Her pen hovered over the notebook, ready to jot a note about structural changes in the Inner Harbor redevelopment plans. Her handwriting had become cramped with the days. Work, her eyes raw from squinting over microfilm readers. She exhaled, steadying herself. That was when the world shivered. The floor didn't move. The air did. It was like standing too close to a passing subway train. The sudden press of invisible force, rushing past skin and bone. The fluorescent lights popped once, flared, and then died, leaving only the wan glow of late afternoon sun. Through the windows, the sounds outside stopped. No sirens, no horns, no bass rattling through glass. Baltimore had gone still. Anya froze with her hand still resting on the notebook, her breath caught in her throat. For a heartbeat, she thought the power had just gone out, but then the silence deepened. Thick, unnatural, suffocating. And in that silence, words formed. The pulse has begun. They weren't sound. They weren't sight. They were simply there, written into her bones, vibrating in her teeth. Every shelf in the room seemed to hum with it. The blueprint under. Her hand flared suddenly, lines of ink dissolving into symbols that burned violet light. Not English. Not anything she recognized. The symbols pulsed once and then vanished, leaving behind the brittle paper as though nothing had happened. Her chest tightened. She yanked off her glasses, as if blurred vision could soften the impossible. But the air itself shimmered faintly, like heat above asphalt. Then the scream started. Distant at first, shouts echoing from the street outside, the sharp crack of breaking glass. A car alarm wailed and then choked into silence. Something heavy crashed against stone. Anya staggered toward the nearest tall window, heart hammering, her palms left sweaty. Prints against the wood frame as she leaned to look outside, and she saw Baltimore bent wrong. Office towers swayed like their reflections in water, lines of glass curving where no wind. Blue. Across the street, an abandoned row house rippled, its bricks unraveling into light before snapping back into place. Above, the clouds glowed faintly with jagged violet veins, crawling like fractures across the sky. Her lips formed a whisper she didn't mean to speak. No, the city whispered back. Codex online. Resonance unlocked.